Hello class and welcome to lesson 1. So we're starting chapter 2, which I'll write up here all nicely. But chapter 2, our focus is fractions. So we're going to jump right in because we've done some work with decimals last chapter. So now we're going to jump in by using what we know, which is decimals, and going into fractions. So starting off with the objective, I can convert between fractions and decimals by using place values and division. And we have vocab today, so we'll start with vocab word 1, which is denominator. Okay, so the definition of a denominator is the number below the line in a common fraction. It's also the divisor. So remember, a fraction is basically just a division problem. So it is the divisor in a division problem. So if we had an example, not red. If we have an example of, let's say, 1/2. The 2 is our denominator. So I'm going to highlight denominator in red. Another example could be 3, If we had 3/5, the fifths would be our denominator. And let's do one more example, just any random one. 7/100 is our denominator. All right, so for a numerator, it is the top number in a common fraction, which shows us how many parts we have. It's also the dividend. So if we have the example, we'll do the exact same example. So we'll say 1 is our numerator in 1/2. And 3 is our numerator in 3/5. And then 7 is our numerator in 7/100. So let's highlight this in blue. And before I move on to part 1, there's 2 parts to this lesson. I want to go over place value. So if we have a decimal here and we have the number 1, this 1 in front of the decimal is in the 1's place value. If we had the number 1.2, the 2 is in the tenths. If we had 1.23, the 3 is in the hundredths. And let's say we had 1.234, the 4 is in the thousands. And so on and so forth. It keeps going on. And this goes on this way. Next would be the tens place value. On this side, we would get tens next. So this is our place value, which is important for changing our decimals into fractions. Okay, so this is part 1 of our 2 parts for this lesson, and it is turning decimals into fractions. So if we have the number, we need to convert 0.5 and 1.25. So 1.5, the 5 here, this 5 is in the tenths place value. Up here. Here's our decimal. Here's our decimal. And the 5 is in the first place value after that decimal, which is the tenths. So, easy peasy. we have 5/10. And that's how it is written as a fraction. And this can be reduced, because I can divide this by 5. 5 can go into both of these numbers. And when you divide 5 by 5, you get 1. And 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 0.5 as a fraction is a half. Now let's do it for 1.25. So I have my whole number, I have a whole, which is in front of the decimal. So our decimal's here. Our decimal's here. And we have a 1 in front. So our whole number is not going to change. It's going to stay the same. And then we see here that we have a 2 in the tenths place and a 5 in the hundredths place. So we have 25 hundredths. So last chapter when I was talking about decimals, sometimes I would say 0.5 or 1.25. It's more accurate if we say, instead of 0.5, we say 5/10. It's more accurate if you say 5/10 because that's what it is as a fraction. And same thing here, instead of saying 1.25, it's more accurate to say 1 25 hundredths because that's what it is as a fraction. So this is 25 hundredths. And I know that 25 can go into 25 and 100. So I can divide both of these by 25, just the fractions. We're not dividing the whole number. So our whole number stays the same. Well, I'm going to bring it down here. 25 divided by 25 is 1. And 100 divided by 25 is 4. So 1.25 or 1 25 hundredths is equal to 1 1/4. Okay, let's get some steps. All right, here are our steps. So step 1 is to identify which place value the last digit is in. So if we're working with 1.25, our last digit is 5. And we can see that if we look at our table here for our place values, we happen to have 2 in the tenths place. Our 5 is in the second place value from the decimal, right? There's 1, 2, so it's in the second place value, which 1, 2 means it's in the hundredths. So I'm going to highlight hundredths. So we've identified where it belongs. It belongs in the hundredths place value because it's the whole number, so it's ones, then our decimal, and tenths, hundredths. Now write the place value as the denominator. So our place value, we're still working with 1.25. Our place value is in the hundredths, so it's 100. And now you need to write, for step 3, write the number behind the decimal in the numerator. So we're writing the number behind the decimals. So not just 5, you're going to write the whole number. So we're working with 1.25. You need to write the whole number that's behind the decimal, not just this 5. We look at just the last digit to find the place value, but then you write the whole number when you're writing the fraction. So we have our 100, and it's 25. Then for step 4, if needed, add the whole number in front of the decimal in front of your fraction. So we have 1.25, and here we have a number in front of our decimal. So if we have 25 100ths, and we have a number like 1, we just need to put that in front. And then step 4, if needed, or step 5 would be simplify. So running out of room here, but we're going to make it work. So 1 stays the same, but 25 and 100 can be simplified, because 25 can go into both of these. And we'd get 25 divided by 25 equals 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So therefore, our final answer is 1 and 1/4. I'm going to go in and add some color here. So we had our denominator in red. So I'm going to highlight it red. And we had our numerator in blue, so let's highlight it blue. And let's highlight our whole number green. This is our whole number. It stays the same. And if we were to highlight the whole thing, instead of highlighting this, it would be, that's the green part. This is the blue, and the denominator would be the place value. So I'm just going to underline 25, or just underline 5, because the last digit is 5, it's in the hundredths. Okay, part 2 is fractions to decimals, and let's jump right into unlock the problem. So you need to convert 6 3/8 into a decimal. So remember, rewind time back to the beginning of the lesson, we were doing vocab. I said the denominator is our divisor and our numerator is our dividend. So when you have to turn a fraction into a decimal, you have the top, our dividend, our numerator, fall down. And you're dividing 3 into 8. So I'm going to rewrite that. So we're doing 3 divided by 8, because a fraction is just a division problem at the end of the day. That's all it is. So can 8 go into 3? Nope. So I add my decimal and a 0. Can 8 go into 30? Yes. How many times? 3 times. Gives us 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Well, we have a remainder of 6, right? Because we'd borrow 10, 6. And 8 cannot go into 6, so I need to bring my 0 down. 8 can go into 67 times, which gives us 56. And when we subtract, we have a remainder of 4. Bring our 0 down, and 8 can go into 45 times. So now we have 0.375. We still can't forget our whole number, right? So let's highlight this, how we had it. So our whole number is 6. Our numerator is 3. Our denominator is 8. And here they are again. So now we need to add 6 plus 0.375. And let me just illustrate to you how this would look. So if we added 6 plus 0.375. We'd have to add our zeros. So basically you just have to add that 6 back on. Unless we had a 1 right here, then the 6 would become a 7, right? But in this case, since there's a 0 here, you just add it on. So this is what 6 3/8 is as a decimal. All right, welcome to steps. All right, let's do some steps. So step 1 is to divide the numerator by the denominator. You're using the fall down method. So if we're doing 6 3/8, let's highlight what we got. We have our whole number, our numerator, and our denominator. So where the fall down method is if we have 3/8, the 3 is like somebody pushed it over and it falls down, and now we're dividing. So then our line becomes the division symbol. And then here's 3. So it's like we're tilting 3/8 over. So see how it would fall? This is like an animation. Here, I'll draw it step by step. So here's 3/8.
Then here we go. If it's falling over.
So I just imagine a little person pushing the numerator over, and then it falls down to go under our division symbol. And then you divide. So you do the division. So we're left with 3.75. Now, if possible for step 2, if you don't have a mixed number, if you just had 3/8, you'd be done. But if you have a mixed number like we did, which was 6 3/8, you need to not forget about your whole number. So we need to take, so step 2 is to, if needed, add the whole number from a mixed number to the quotient just found. So here's our whole number, 6. We're adding it to the quotient we just found. The quotient was 0.375. And when you add that, you get 6.375. Okay, here are our examples. So we have to convert 3 3/6 to a decimal. So I'm going to just start by bringing my 3 down, making it fall to be divided by 6. I'm going to rewrite that over here. 3 divided by 6. And 6 can go into 3 0 times. 6 can go into 35 times. So our decimal we have is 0.5. We can't forget about our whole number. So we have 3 plus 0.5 equals 3.5. Easy peasy, right? Okay, we are going to convert 95.5, and we have a whole number here, 95, and then our decimal and our 5/10. So it's in the tenths place value, and it's our last number, so it's 5/10. And we can reduce that because 5 can go into both of these numbers. And it can go into 5 can go into 5 one time, 5 can go into 10 two times. So now we have our whole number, or just bring that down. And we just need to add on our fraction. So 95.5 is 95.5. Quick little hack, just to make life easier. If something is ever 0.5, imagine there's an invisible 0 behind it. and it's 50%, and 50% is half. So whenever there's a 5, just 0.5, it's always half. So we didn't have to go through all this mess. This proves why it is 0.5, or why it is 1/2, why 0.5 is 1/2. But whenever you see 0.5, you automatically know it's a half.